And we are live. How y'all doing today, Cash Sports family? Oh man, I'm over here messing up.
Yo, okay. My fault, guys. Just making sure everybody can hear me. Okay, we are live. Welcome to Cash Sports, everybody. I am here. I'm live. I am well, and I am ready to talk some more football. Y'all already know what it is, man. It is Cash Sports. Before we get into it, to the article to your right, and my left. I want y'all to hit that like and subscribe button if you would so kindly do that, because I would graciously appreciate it. And I know y'all see that cash app at the bottom, man, too. So if y'all would just so humbly donate to the platform, because I'm only doing this because I want to talk sports with you guys. I want to have debates. I want more people to come on here, and I want to engage and have more sports conversation with all people alike. Y'all already know, man. So I don't want to waste no time. Y'all already read the title, right? Y'all already know what it is. Is there pressure for Niner Nation this year? Right? We've been hearing a lot about the San Francisco 49ers. Man, I'm not even a Niner fan, but you know what? I gotta give my shout outs where they're due. Right? Niner Nation, man, y'all been looking out for the channel, man. Y'all been looking out, y'all been y'all been watching my videos. Y'all been sticking to it, man. So I gotta put it out there for you guys, man, for sure. And before I even do that, before I even talk about the San Francisco 49ers, I'm going to drop that link in the comment section. So for anybody that wants to join, bam, drop that right there. So for anybody who wants to tune in, anybody that wants to join this conversation, you are welcome. I promise, right? And we're gonna get into it. So let me pull this article up a little bit closer so you guys can see what I'm looking at. Hopefully I can try to move this a little bit though. Unfortunately I can't. Oh, what's up, Void? Good looking out, man. You already know, always with that thumbs up, right? All right, let me remove this. Boom. Alrighty then. Okay, hopefully you guys can see these names, but they're a little bit to the left, so if you can't see it, I'm gonna try to at least announce them. You guys already know I'm gonna announce it for y'all, man. Come on now. I mean, let's be honest here. I tried to zoom in a little bit more. It's still cutting the names off just a tad bit, but like I said, I'm gonna read the names off. So, is Niner Nation? Is there pressure on Niner Nation this year? Absolutely. Whenever you go into a new football season, there is always pressure on most teams. But 49ers just aren't any team, right? This is an historic franchise, a team that's been here before, a team that's been winning. I wouldn't say in recent memory, but they do have a history of winning in their franchise. I mean, we're familiar with Joe Montana, Steve Young, the famous Jerry Rice. Arguably the greatest wide receiver of all time, right? So in recent memory, right, the 49ers haven't really had that much success, when it comes to Super Bowls. But they've definitely had their fair share of great players. Now, why do I want to talk about this? Why do I say the Niners have pressure this year specifically? I mean, because there's some things that's going down in this franchise, some changes, some big changes, in fact. And then I kind of want to cover that just so I can get your guys' opinion, and then so we can dig into this a little bit more, and then we can assess. I probably got it a little bit out of order, but you guys kind of understand where I'm coming from, right? So, first position. You know what? Let me just say right now before I get into it, before I even talk about Niners, let's get into this roster. Let's get into this 53-man roster and get a quick assessment on how this team is going to be looking right for the year. So first things first, you already got to start with the quarterbacks, right? I mean, it's not really a mystery. It starts there and it ends there with the quarterback. So it comes to no surprise that Trey Lance is going to be the starting quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers. Last year, it used to be Jimmy G, right? And this was a big transition. I mean, we were all shocked to see that the San Francisco 49ers had traded up to draft Trey Lance, and he came from South Dakota State, if I'm not mistaken. Please correct me if I am wrong. I don't mind being told I'm wrong as long as whatever you guys are saying are right? So Trey Lance, now going into his second year, is finally being the starting quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers. And this is huge. This is literally huge. Why? Because Jimmy G has had success with the 49ers in the past. We talking about a guy that's won over 30 games with the Niners as a starting quarterback. And whenever he's not playing, they are losers, right? And I don't mean that in the harshest sense. I mean, it is harsh words, but to an extent, it is true. I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat words. I'm not going to say, you guys were nice or Niners were doing their thing without Jimmy G. No, that is not the case. It is so far from the spectrum that probably what I'm saying is spot on, And so now with this transition, it gives a lot of, how can I say, it's a mystery. It's a mystery as it pertains to how Trey Lance will perform heading into this 2022 season. Now, from what we've seen in the preseason so far, Trey Lance has played exceptionally well in some areas. Obviously, there's areas where he can improve on, right? In terms of probably being smarter with the football sometimes, maybe taking his checkdowns, sliding. I believe in the first preseason game that he actually played, he pointed out that was the first time he had actually slid before, which is crazy. I think it's pretty crazy how there's a lot of QBs, who make it to the league and then their first time actually sliding is in the National Football League. You get what I'm saying? So that is pretty crazy in itself. I mean, it's not that crazy, but all things considering, with the position of quarterback and how they need them on the field, you just got to do that, So, but it is good for the 49ers to have that blanket, right? That cushion beneath them, because they do have Jimmy G as the backup quarterback for this upcoming season, right? Jimmy G was set to make $27 million in this upcoming season up until his contract was reconstructed by the San Francisco 49ers. So if you guys want to hear the number for that, I'm not too familiar with the dollar amount as of yet, but if I'm right, I'm probably going to put it out just from the top of my head. I believe it was restructured to $8 million on the year and then $6 million guaranteed, right? So if I'm right, let me know if I am. If I'm wrong, please come on here, go in the comment section and tell me how much of an idiot I am. So so I think that was a very good move for the 49ers, and for them to restructure Jimmy G's contract, that was a very good GM move. You got to, whoever's the GM right now, I think it's John Lynch. Hey, man, you got to get a pat on the back, because, not only do you have insurance, but now you have a young quarterback who's ready to go, who hasn't particularly seen a full season, even though that is a mystery in itself on your end, on the Niners end. It is fresh to other teams. So other teams don't have film. They don't have footage on Trey Lance, or they barely have footage on Trey Lance, right? So right now it is an anomaly. It will be tough to be playing against 49ers, and it always is. It's always tough to play against the 49ers as the roster is constructed at this moment, right? But now that this team has a new quarterback, that is the bottom line as to why the Niners have so much pressure on their backs. All right. And I don't want to stick to the quarterback position too much. Let's try to skim through the other positions, and anything that I feel like I want to talk about, I'm going to pop it out there, right? So running backs, right? We already know that the 49ers are really known for running the ball. They love rushing the ball, especially around playoff time, right? So we already know about Elijah Mitchell. set to have probably a really good year. We already know Kyle Shanahan is known for getting the ball to guys who are effective with it, right? So not much really to say there. I know Elijah Mitchell is a very good player, so we're just gonna leave it at that, right? So the wide receiver position, we already know what happened with Deebo Samuel. It was a pretty crazy year for Deebo Samuel in a good way. I think at the end of the year, after the playoffs, there was a little bit of back and forth as it pertains to Deebo Samuel's position when it comes to his standing in the offense. Apparently or allegedly, because I don't know how deep this goes, you can hear so many different things in the media, is that Deebo Samuel did not like the fact that he was being used as a running back, right? And he wanted to be a receiver. He wanted to maintain his position at the wide receiver position, which is completely understandable, right? Deebo Samuel takes a lot of punishment when he gets the ball out of the backfield, but at that time, it was probably really necessary for Deebo to be given the ball from the backfield, specifically, right, in that game against the Green Bay Packers, right? It was extremely effective. But now that Deebo Samuel just got a contract extension, so he's definitely going to be making some big bucks. If I'm not mistaken, he should be receiving $24 million on the year, right? So Deebo Samuel was given all NFL or all pro NFL first team for the first time in his career. So we already know what Deebo Samuel was made of, man. That boy's a dog. And there's no questions there. Ain't no questions about Deebo Samuel. You're going to be Deeboing people on the field. So Brandon Ayuk, right? We're familiar with Brandon Ayuk, been on the team for some time. I would just say, he's a great player. He's also, I've seen him get, the jet sweep out of the backfield. So he's also one of those players that Kyle Shanahan likes to use for their speed off the edge, right? So let's go a little bit lower. George Kittle, right? For the tight ends. You already know what George Kittle is made of, man. He's a wonderful tight end. I think a tight end that probably anybody would want to have on this team. He's a phenomenal blocker, which is a necessity, right? Almost out of a tight end. Nowadays, tight ends really don't block like that. They're more receivers at the line. But George Kittle could do both, man. Obviously, we know what his catching ability is made of. And when he has the ball in his hands, it is difficult to take this man down. With the combination of Deebo Samuel and George Kittle, you probably have the best duo to have yards after the catch. And so with George Kittle's ability to catch the ball, block, yards after the catch, George Kittle has always been, in my eyes, as one of the best tight ends in the league. Now, where do I place him? He would probably be in the top 5 spectrum, maybe mostly in the ender tier of that top 5 list, strictly just based off what we've seen in recent years. But I know he's gotten injured. A couple times, right? So we got to give credit to where credit is due, or give grace in that aspect. But I'm not going to take away anything from what he's been doing for so long. So I'm going to just give him his credit. So let's scroll down just a little bit. Offensive line, right? We already know about Trent Williams, man. I ain't going to go too much in that offensive line. Defensive line, man. We got to scratch that a little bit. We do. So Nick Bosa, man, that boy is dangerous. Even though, we probably haven't heard his name. He isn't the most popular player, but Nick Bosa is definitely putting up numbers, definitely doing his thing at the defensive end position. And so he's one of the most valuable players on the team. Whenever Nick Bosa, or whenever the 49ers go against Green Bay Packers, Nick Bosa is always giving Aaron Rodgers some serious work. I mean, despite what happened last year, and they left him at 10 points. I mean, they're 4-0 against the Green Bay Packers. In one of the games, in one of the NFC Championship games, I believe that, I don't even believe. I know that the Niners blew out the Green Bay Packers one year. And that defense, if I'm not mistaken, was the same defense, right, that went to the Super Bowl. And then that's when they unfortunately lost the Kansas City Chiefs in that Super Bowl, right? So Nick Bosa is definitely going to be a player in the long haul who's going to be really effective for this team, right? So I'm not going to scratch on linebackers too much. Cornerbacks. Actually, I want to scratch cornerbacks just a little bit. If anybody can give me information on, hey, Niner Nation, man, if you guys can give me any information on your corners, I'm not too familiar with corners on this team. So I'm just going to leave it at that. But the way I want to go about it, I mean, we all know what it means to have great corners in this team, right? The San Francisco 49ers, in my opinion, I think they have a really good defense, but their secondary, it's kind of lacked in some areas. It's a hit or miss, honestly. I think it's more so between the pack. It's not really mind-blowing or game-changing. They don't really have any Jalen Ramsey or Stephon Gilmore or even Marshawn Lattimore on their team. But to be able to hold Aaron Rodgers, who is a 4-time league MVP, to 10 points at home in Green Bay, you know, it's not all the secondary is doing, but you know, the fact of the matter is you still have to guard up on Davante Adams, and it might not have been a singular performance as it pertains to covering Davante Adams, but the assignment as a whole. So that's how I would look at it, not from individually, but as a collective, right? Because it's a team, right? All right, let's scroll down just a little bit more. Ah, man, they don't got no more for me. They don't. Okay. So let's get back into it. Let me scratch this out and get rid of this. Boom. Okay. So, right, we just went over the San Francisco 49ers. We scratched at their roster for a tad bit, right? And remember what I said in the beginning. What does, or is there pressure on the 49ers this year to win a Super Bowl? Or is there pressure at all? And we've already acknowledged that. We've already gone over that. The 49ers absolutely have pressure. I mean, they were just a playoff team. They just went to the playoff. They just lost to the defending champions, right, in the LA Rams in the NFC Championship game, right? So that is huge. So now, right, who has this pressure? Who has the most pressure on the Niners? I'm gonna go down like this. It's gonna be Trey Lance, unfortunately. Then it's gonna be Kyle Shanahan, and then afterwards it's gonna be the GM, John Lynch, and then the team after that, right? So I'm going to say why I said it in order. So first one is Trey Lance. We already know about the quarterback position, right? We already know about the quarterback position. We already know what Trey Lance has to do as the starting quarterback of this team. And anything that he does outside of that, his season would be a complete and utter disaster. Now, I'm not saying it's going to go in that direction, but he does have to perform. He does have to play well. Now, I'm not one of those people who says, you know, going into the second year, he has to have like a Patrick Mahomes type year. Absolutely not. But he does have to manage the game. He does need to be smart with the football, right? He just needs to make good decisions. And that is not just throwing the ball. It also aligns with running the ball. As I said earlier, sliding, right? And now Kyle Shanahan, I mean, he's the coach of the team. He's the head coach of the team. He calls the plays, and he has a lot of influence when it comes to what players stay on this team and what players come to this team. Now, I know it's a collective thing, which is why I said John Lynch right after him, because I mean, he's the GM of the 49ers, right? So it almost goes hand in hand, right? So when you have both of these guys who are camaraderie, right? Who work together, right? They form the roster together. They build the team. And then Kyle Shanahan builds the scheme. He gets everything together. He he galvanizes the troops. And so that matters. When you have a position like that, when you have that sort of status and power, I mean, hey, bro, you gotta live up to it, you know. And then so for Kyle Shanahan, what we've known him for is his little stint with the Atlanta Falcons, and he was a phenomenal offensive coordinator, which is the reason why he was hired to be the head coach for the 49ers, and he deserved it. But he has gotten a lot of flack, for making some questionable calls late in games. And so this is why we got to really sit back and really look at Kyle Shanahan and say, okay, is this how you're going to go about things? Right? And then so with John Lynch, I mean, he's just a GM or the guy that picks the roster. And I'm not downplaying it. It's obviously a really important position because how can you get guys like Trey Lance, Deebo Samuel, Nick Bosa, Trent Williams? You can't do it without having a GM. You can't do it without having somebody out there and going out and getting these players and signing these players and making sure you're locking down these players. Right? So that is the job of John Lynch, and this is why he is third on this list when it comes to who is going to get pressure on the 49ers. Now, will the 49ers win a Super Bowl this season? That I do not know. I don't. That is probably least likely to happen than more likely to happen. But I still think there's a very decent possibility and better than most. Because the 49ers are still a really good team. They have a wonderful team. I mean, they have receivers. They have some form of a rushing game, right? Better than most, right? They have a defense. The only questionable thing was their quarterback position. And the issue with their quarterback position in the past is that Jimmy G just wasn't the week-to-week quarterback. He wasn't your everyday efficient quarterback, right? Jimmy G can play. He can ball. But at the end of the day, Jimmy G was not looked at as that guy to make that big throw. And why do I say that? I'm staying back to that time in the Super Bowl against the Kansas City Chiefs when Jimmy G could have thrown a more accurate ball to Emmanuel Sanders, and that could have potentially won the San Francisco 49ers a Super Bowl. So now you're in a different position, right? You're in an entirely you have an entirely different quarterback, right? So people are going to be looking at, why did you trade up? Was this the guy? Is he the answer? And these are the sort of questions that are going to be asked throughout the year. And God help Trey Lance if he does not play well, because I will personally feel bad if he's going through all this hullabaloo, through the season when there was just so much expectation. You get what I'm saying? So, that is at least my argument on this whole 49ers situation, at least for the season. Let me see if I can try to take some comments, but I don't really see no comments right now besides my boy Void. Let me put that thumbs up again just because he's looking out for me. Gotta have that up there. All right. Once again, this is the CashSports podcast. Please, man, for anybody that's live streaming or tuning in or just watching, love sports, man, please like and subscribe to the CashSports podcast. I would graciously appreciate it. Right? And I know y'all see that Cash App at the bottom of the screen, right? So it is optional. I'm not pulling nobody's thumb or pulling anybody's finger for it, but I will appreciate it. But at the end of the day, man, this is what I love. I'm here. I'm sitting here in front of y'all, and I'm talking sports. I'm sitting here. I'm talking football, right? So, that is it, and that concludes another episode of the CashSports podcast. I graciously appreciate everybody that attended, and have a wonderful